Tesla stock at the time of recording this video is up about 1% today, not necessarily based on company-specific news as much as trade-related news from Scott Bessent, Trump, and Caroline Levitt. In this video, I will give you all of your news you need to know. We will look at any news for Tesla stock as well, option activity, what the short sellers are doing, and let me tell you, they're covering hundreds of thousands of shares today. I don't know about you guys, but that's a pretty good sign that the stock is going to be going higher. Now, you're also sitting at a pretty critical level around this 200-day moving average at about $291 per share. You were actually above this at one point today, hitting $294.86. And what happens here could be very important. And I will give you the latest details on that in this video as well. But keep in mind, I think this week is going to be volatile. Tesla stock has been up 4 days in a row, not including today. Today would be the 5th day in the green. And eventually you're going to get a red day. And with all of the catalysts this week, don't be surprised when that happens. But I do think it's going to be a good week nonetheless. So first and foremost, let's get into what is causing broader markets to move higher, at least slightly today. At the time of recording this video, the S&P is up 0.2%. Again, you've had 4 green days in a row, up 2.6%, up 1.55%, up 2.1%, and on Friday you were up 0.72%. So you've already had quite a big move, and you are at a breakout level for markets. Getting above this 300-day moving average, which is currently at $551.83, is going to catapult markets higher. And we're just really waiting on one headline, and that is a China pause on tariffs, which I do think is coming soon. Nonetheless, Scott Bessent had a CNBC interview today. He says that it is up to China to de-escalate on tariffs. And he says that all aspects of government are in contact with China. He says that many countries presented very good proposals on trade. And he says, quote, many of the 17 important trading partners have made very good proposals to avert US tariffs. Bessent says that Europeans are panicked about the strength of the euro, and that's why he expects the ECB will continue to cut rates. Scott Bessent says that it is a complicated relationship with China, but that he is sure China wants to de-escalate. Now, this one's actually funny. Bessent says he was surprised when the markets rallied after remarks at JP Morgan's conference. He didn't say anything new. Bessent says that negotiations with Asian trading partners is going very, very well. I mean, you could group like Bangladesh in here, even India, Thailand, Vietnam. I mean, these are countries that do a ton of manufacturing for US-based companies. It's really the region that got hit the hardest via these reciprocal tariffs. And it's the area or region that we count on really the most for cheap labor, and where a lot of US companies have already invested a ton of money for that reason. So it's really the whole Asia region that is important. China's the big dog, but the other countries as well are huge. Scott Bessent also says that Chinese exemptions show they want de-escalation on trade. Now, this is a pretty big headline as well from his speech. He says that, quote, we are anxious not to escalate with China. So they really want to get negotiations started. The only way I think that happens is if Trump pauses the tariffs on China. Like, you got to do something in good faith at this point for China to negotiate. Like, why would you negotiate with the US if you're China? The US has been essentially put in a trade embargo against your country. We've kind of like publicly stated that we want to form like a global blockade against China. Why are you, as if you're China, going to be the first ones to, you know, cave and start negotiations in any kind of serious way? You wouldn't do that. Bessent says that India might be one of the first trade deals that will sign. Bessent says this about Apple. He says maybe it speaks to China as an unreliable partner, which, I mean, is just a crazy thing to say when we've been the one that's, not to defend China here, because China has a lot of issues and they obviously don't play fair. But with everything that I just said, China is an unreliable partner to Apple. That just doesn't click in my brain. Now, CBC says a global recession is coming, that a worldwide economic slump could set in by summer unless Trump changes direction. U.S. Treasury Secretary Bessent says we are doing bespoke deals with 18 trading partners. And he says that Trump to be intimately involved in every one. Bessent says we will see what happens with China when asked if he planned to call his counterpart. Bessent says, quote, maybe they'll call me one day. Bessent says that he is not worried about empty shelves, but he says that we'll see elasticities and we'll see replacements. That's a good way of saying maybe shortages. Bessent says the first trade deal might come as early as this week or next week. And Bessent says there is a tax meeting today, and I think that's one thing worth highlighting here. We've paid a lot of attention to the negatives, like around trade, which again makes sense because that's been just the daily headlines. But there's also corporate, taxes being lowered. There's the deregulation side, which is really what markets rallied on initially when Trump won the election. Okay, we still have those things in play, but until trade dies down and tensions die down, I don't think we're going to pay too much attention to deregulation or taxes. But it could be something that comes around like the end of this year where people say, wow, okay, we got through trade. Now we got deregulation. Now we got lower taxes. Maybe it's not as bad as we thought earlier in the year. IBM announced today that they plan to invest $150 billion in America over the next 5 years. The White House says that Bessent will brief the press on Tuesday. So maybe that is the first trade deal? We'll see. Jamie Dimon of JP Morgan has said that Gen Z has no reason to be depressed. As long as there's no nuclear war, they'll have an unbelievable life. Donald Trump says today that America can no longer subsidize Canada. And Ukraine has proposed a full ceasefire for at least 30 days. But the White House says that Trump wants a permanent Russia-Ukraine ceasefire. And Caroline Leavitt says that Trump is increasingly frustrated with Russia and Ukraine. Now, the ECB said today that they may cut rates more if the outlook shows an undershoot of 2% inflation. White House Press Secretary Leavitt says the entire team is working 24/7 to get trade deals done. And she says you'll be hearing more about trade deals this week. That is probably via Scott Bessent tomorrow. Now, this is not a great headline. Pakistan's defense minister says a military incursion by India is imminent. And the defense minister says in a normal armed conflict, both countries should refrain from using the nuclear option. So basically, Pakistan and India both have nuclear weapons and, well, a war is imminent, apparently. That's usually not a big comfort to markets. Nvidia is also dragging down the broader index today. Nvidia is down about 2.2%. Following headlines last night that Huawei is developing a new AI chip to compete with Nvidia, at least in China. And ECB's Rain says we should not rule out rate cuts below the neutral rate. Japan's economy minister Akizawa says no change to our stance. We are demanding full removal of U.S. tariffs. China's foreign ministry says the U.S. and China have not conducted negotiations or consultations on tariffs. Dallas Fed manufacturing index today came in at negative 35.8. The estimate was negative 15. Last month was negative 16.3. So yeah, manufacturing in that area is not going in the right direction. That's for sure. Now, as I said over this weekend, today was really the slow day, Monday. There was not a lot going on, not a whole lot for earnings. There's some we'll cover in just a moment. Tomorrow, you have larger economic data with JOLTS job openings. Here's the deal. If job openings go up, that's good. If job openings go down by a lot, that's not good. Because before you lay someone off, normally you remove your job, your hiring, okay? If you were looking to hire an employee, now you're looking to fire an employee, that you're no longer looking to hire an employee. So usually you take down your hiring signs before you start firing people. Okay, you're not expecting much of a change from last month as well, from February to March. This data is for March. So we'll see. If that comes down a lot, that's a bad sign for the jobs market. If it goes up, that's good. If it comes in line with expectations, well, that's good as well. You also get CB consumer confidence, you get S&P Case-Shiller home price year over year and month over month, wholesale inventories month over month, advanced data for March, and the goods trades balance, which will give you a new Atlanta Fed GDP Now update, which is currently negative 2.5%, which we do have GDP coming out this week. I believe that is on, is it Wednesday? Wednesday. And you're actually expecting a positive number. So based on tomorrow's data, it could influence how that GDP report comes out. Now here today in after hours, you have Waste Management, NXP, F5, Teradyne, Nucor, Transocean, Welltower, and Cadence that report earnings. The only one that's really important is NXP because they do a lot of business with Apple. So NXP, NXPI, if it's good or bad, could move the needle for Apple. Keep that in mind. And then really throughout this week, I mean, there's going to be a ton of earnings, a ton of economic data. You can see on screen, pause the video. You have Microsoft, you have Meta Wednesday and after hours. Thursday and after hours is really the big day. You have Amazon and Apple because these are, they got to be two of the most heavily tariffed companies if these tariffs go into effect or if the tariffs are too high. They're also very sensitive to the American consumer. Okay. Now, what's also going to be a big story throughout this week is generally the consumer. What does SoFi, PayPal, UPS say about consumer spending? What does Visa say about consumer spending? How is Starbucks doing? Okay. There's other names like McDonald's, Thursday morning. Like, what do they say about the consumer? Are consumers pulling back? Does this look like a recession? Or are things fine? That's a big question that we really need answered for markets to continue to move higher. And you need something that sounds okay at the very least. Now again, for Tesla stock at the time of recording this video, you're up about 0.5% today at $286.27 at the time of recording this video. And there really is not a ton of news today for Tesla, but I will share with you the latest. New York is bolstering an EV rebate program with $30 million. EVs with at least 200 miles of range are eligible for the full $2,000 rebate. Those with 40 to 199 miles of range are eligible for $1,000, while a $500 rebate applies to EVs under 40 miles of range, which is interesting because I actually just bought an electric scooter that technically gets like 50 miles of range. It's a blast, by the way. If you guys do not have an electric scooter and you're kind of adventurous, definitely worth looking into. I would be interested to see if New York, if that also applies to like an electric scooter. You get $500 off. That'd be pretty cool. There was actually a lot of excitement about Tesla heading into this week. Dalton Brewer says Tesla is about to surge like never before. Everything is coming together beautifully. Are you ready? Tesla Hodler on X says, let the gains begin. And I agree. I mean, I think Tesla's about to rally. Tesla Bull on X says Tesla equals Algo Daddy. Perfecto trend lines. 290 must hold. 284 price gap has filled. Yeah, this is a critical level that we are at. If you break out from here, you're going to trigger something huge. But unfortunately, that breakout, I think it really hinges on trade dying down. I think it hinges more or less on China. If we get a headline that says something like the US and China negotiate tariffs, or Trump puts a pause on China tariffs for 60 days. That's going to be the catalyst that sends this market much higher. And specifically for Tesla and really companies, American companies that do business in China. We've talked about these before. Tesla, Nike, Starbucks, to name just a few. Those are going to be the biggest winners. Now, as Tesla Chan writes on X, Tesla, like Tesla said, they're definitely getting ready for a new product. Engineering new products, building powertrains, making seats, and going to GA. You could see some of the job openings here. Launch engineering technician, new product introduction, and a launch engineer for new product introduction, powertrain, seats, and GA, which is general assembly. And these are positions that are being hired for in Fremont, California. And as Tesla Bull points out, there was a $338 ghost order on Tesla stock. Mike Investing on X says Tesla provided a generational buying opportunity and is now going to rally towards all-time highs. This was your last opportunity to load Tesla in the 200s before you never see them again. So there is actually a lot of optimism right now around Tesla stock, and again, for good reason. Option activity today for Tesla is positive, but not as positive as it was earlier in the day. Today, you have 108 different trades from hedge funds and institutions, totaling $63.84 million with a positive order value of 67%. If you take a look at what short sellers are doing today, they're covering about 162,000 shares worth of Tesla. Now, this number could change by the end of the day as some of the data gets finalized, so I will keep you guys updated on that. Short interest did rise from 2.73% to 2.88%. The dollar amount sold short in Tesla has risen from $17.45 billion since Tesla stock was at the lows, now up to $23 billion. So short sellers have lost billions and billions of dollars since Tesla's earnings, or really since Tesla bottomed around the 215 levels. Global inventory levels continue to plummet for Tesla as well. That is a sign that demand is most likely pretty strong for Tesla. Now, Google Trends activity is trending in the upwards direction from the prior report that I gave you, at least slightly. The Model Y went from 13, now it's at 14. The Model 3 went from 11, now it's at 12. The weather's starting to get nice outside now. It took a little longer than other years, okay? And I would expect as things get nicer outside, more people start to maybe buy a new vehicle. We'll see if Tesla gets some of that. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you guys think about this down below in the comment section. We will discuss again what to look out for tomorrow, what's going right, what's not going right in the next video, and why I'm so bullish on Tesla as well in the next video. So stay tuned to the channel for that one, coming out at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight. In the meantime, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any videos when they are posted, because they can help you make more money, and at the very least, stay more informed of what's going on in our markets and with Tesla every single day. Enjoy the rest of your day. I will see you in the next one.